Thank you so much, Tim. I hope every one of you can hear me. Good afternoon. I know it's getting late, and because of the nicely put together agenda that is very packed, we were a little bit robbed of our tea time. So I tried to be brief, but there is a point that I want to make that I think isn't stated often enough. And with that, I want to go ahead. It's my first time at the MEF Connect's ID and Data. And on my journey of preparing for this event, I was actually thinking about that I enjoy it as a consumer, that there is so much going on in the regulatory space that is protecting me as a person, my personal data and my identity. So there is regulatory framework that has been published and has been pushed out, and it's constantly being evolved. And we have heard about this morning, that it's taken like new heights as well, that force businesses to take data privacy very serious. And it has arrived in our everyday life. So if I take a look at my everyday life, it consists of web browsing a lot, right? And it can be considered a nuisance, but I like it that I can control the cookie settings of each and every website every time I visit them. I also like that whenever I sign a contract, I have a big amendment in the end that states all of the data points that are being collected about me. And it also has to state how all of that data points are being used. Who is going to process them? To what purpose? How long is it being stored? All of this is getting more transparent, and I as a consumer get more control over it. I enjoy that. I like that. I like that the regulation has stepped in and helped us in doing such things. When I think like 10 years ago where all of this wasn't really there, it was way more scary than it is today. I'm not saying it's not scary anymore, but it's getting better. But I'm not only like a consumer, I'm also a nerd. And I like technology as well, and specifically progressive technology. I'm a physicist. If you know Big Bang Theory, my CV is pretty close to the one of Leonard. I had the same like submarine steel table, doing like nonlinear optics, etc. So I really enjoy technology. I'm a nerd. I like what's going on in the generative AI space. I like that ChatGPT has passed the Turing test. I like making money with technology chips like from NVIDIA. So there is a lot of things there that I like. I also like the convenience that modern technology brings. Like, I like contextual support a lot. Like when a brand is calling me or I call them for help, I like that I don't have to state my name, that I have to state what products I have purchased, etc. I also like it when I'm in an online shop that they remember what payment method I used. Like that brings a lot of convenience. I enjoy that. I even enjoy personalized advertisement. I'd rather have personalized ads than like random things that I don't care about. And to me here is a discrepancy between, on the one side, I give a thumbs up for data privacy, but on the other hand, I also give up a thumbs up for progressive technology and convenience. And that might clash. And if I translate that to my professional environment, I unfortunately experience in a lot of conversations with fellow product managers that they are afraid to use data to create value. And specifically in the telecommunication industry where I'm from, there is a lot of data. There are a lot of valuable insights that the operators have and that the operators can provide, and as we have learned over the past like months and years, are also willing to provide. So there is a lot of data associated with like my mobility as a subscriber. Where am I moving? Where am I staying? Who is around me? Where do I spend time? There is a lot of like payment history, like what payment methods do I use? How long is my relationship with an operator? Am I actually paying? Am I not paying? How high is the invoice? Like there's so much insights inside all of that. The same goes with traffic patterns. Like who am I? Like how much do I like use the phone calls? Do I like less intrusive channels like messaging? There is so much that if I take away the fear of using data, you could be doing with that could generate revenue, that it is amazing. Like I like that. I like what you can do with all of this on the good side of things, not on the fraud side of things. But unfortunately, a lot of the innovation, a lot of the progressive user experiences are stopped right at the seat. Because people, as I said before, like tend to be afraid of using that data, right? They think that opt-ins and data privacy laws like create like a brick wall that is unpenetratable. Like you can't use that data. It's a bad thing. It's not allowed. You shouldn't be doing this. And I think what we have learned and what I want to state in this talk is that deal with that at a second step. Don't be afraid to use data to create value. Like, it's there for the taking. And yes, there is a lot of things that you have to consider, but it shouldn't stop you from innovating and like thinking about the possibilities that you have if you would have access to that data. And we have seen that that concept of not being afraid to do so has created partial success. We have seen in the telecommunication space over the past months that there are a lot of applications where you were actually able to see that opt-ins and data privacy isn't a brick wall. You can actually go through this. If you do the right things, you come to points where you would actually say, yes, I have a legitimate interest in using that data because I create value for the subscriber. That is very critical and very useful. It even brings you to a point where you can say it's so valuable that I can just assume that the subscriber has an interest in sharing that data, although he hasn't done that explicitly. And of course, all of this cannot just be assumed and can be done. There needs to be checks and balances around this, right? You have to make sure that this doesn't reach the wrong hands, and you have to make sure that whoever is claiming that they're using that data for a certain use case are actually doing that. For sure, like there is scrutiny around this and there is complexity associated with this. But don't think that data privacy and double opt-ins and explicit consent is a brick wall for the ideas that you have in creating products. A few of these like service sets that are available via the operator APIs are like very sensitive, right? And thinking about this, that those possibilities are now a reality and they are commercially available and they're being used is amazing, right? Like there are scenarios where name matchmaking is actually a thing. Like you can do that. You have access to that data if you have the right use cases. Silent authentication is something that I pitched at Mobile World Congress like 6 or 7 years ago, and the market wasn't ready back at the time. It was very weird for like people to see on a mobile phone a demo application where I showed them that this is a banking website, and if you use your own phone and you go to that banking website, it automatically locks you in. You don't have to do anything. Yeah, everybody said, I don't want this. Like, this is amazing from a customer experience standpoint, but I'm way too afraid. I don't know what's going on in the background. I don't want it. This is too much convenience. Today, that has changed. Like, people with a lot of their education have understood that like putting in passwords is very annoying, and copying passwords from SMS into applications is also very annoying. So why can't you just authenticate me in the background? So the market has matured, and these possibilities are now not only like thinkable and reachable, they're actually being implemented, and this is amazing. And it's great that operators like Telefonica and Virgin are actually at the forefront of this and enabling the industry to do these things. And there is more to it, right? Like even device information, like possession of property, where you go and say like, okay, we can't even work with SIM swap signals. And even further, if you go into the traffic signals, recently you have launched the scam signals API, where you can actually go as far in saying like, we can give you real-time information into an ongoing conversation, right? And all of this is legally fine. Like you have use cases and frameworks where this is possible and thinkable and doable. And not only that, it's even commercially successful. But today, what I think is a statement that I can go is like, there isn't enough adoption. Like we would see more growth, more transactions, more use cases in it. And not just limited to like banker, financial institutions, or insurances. There is volume, there's revenues, but it's not at scale that we're used, for example, at the telecommunications space. If I take a look at our company, like we handle like billions of transactions every month. And that's not the scale that we're at for these network APIs yet. And I think one of the things that's holding us back is the fear of data privacy being like a brick wall. So what I'm advocating for here and what I want to push out, and I'm happy to like follow up with the discussion later, is get the adoption of telecommunications data at scale and like lose your fear, right? And maybe think not about like what are the like data elements that you can obtain that are like for you for the taking. Don't think about, I want the name, I want the location, I want the address, I want the age, I want the interest. think more about it in a relative way, right? So, okay, that is a subscriber, and I have a reference group or a use case, and I want to know whether that subscriber or that phone number is or can be trusted or is applicable in my context. So it's always contextual. It's not just like the plain information that can be copied and used in other scenarios. If you create a model for a certain use case and take that data and score that, that isn't easily applicable in other scenarios. You can't just like take that copy, collect it, and then sell it for a different use case. Like you can't do that. And in this like anonymized data and scoring world, like we have seen successes in actually reaching like high volumes for certain things. And as I said, I'm making it quick, so I'm about to reach the end of my my talk here. I don't want to go into our product here, but like we have done this and tried this out by taking phone numbers and scoring the trust in the phone number for different contexts, right? And we have carried like a majority, like many signals from our network, third parties, publicly available data, and adjusted the score with different customers that we have for their specific context. And we have seen some great results on this, right? And there are use cases that I'm now going to name in the telecommunication space that have very high amount of transactions, like hundreds of millions of transactions a month. So this is really like adoption at scale. So one of the things that the telecommunication industry, and it was like talked about and referenced a lot, is user onboarding, is sign up, right? And there are questions around the sign up that go beyond, is this really Marco? Like the majority of companies don't really care if it's really me. Like the first steps that you have is that actually a mobile device? Is that a person? Is that a human that is signing up? And the same goes for other areas. Like, is this like an actual person or is it a bot? When it comes to answering calls, right? If you run a large network, voice traffic, you don't really need to know that that phone call is coming from me or from like a almost 30 years old guy. Like you don't need all of these things, but you need to know whether that's a call that you can trust and that you should answer. So it's different from what you may know as like call name services in the US, where like a call just gets my name, so it gets trusted, or a logo. I think for me as a transit operator, I only need to know whether I should like relay that because it's my accountability to stop bad traffic. And then we come to the next, which is like call blocking or filtering messages. Like these are different contexts where different signals help you to evaluate the trust into the phone number based on your context. And it's different for each of them. You can't just like take the same score for messaging and apply it to voice or vice versa, right? You can't even take the same score to evaluate it for sign up. So it's really about being so dynamic and cooperative with whoever is going to use that data. And there are many more use cases where we have seen that you don't really need like all of the data points. You just need to have a trust score, a confidence index for your context that you're looking into if you want to use that data, right? And with that, I think I'm already running out of time, and I don't want to like extend my time more than others did. So network APIs open up telecommunications data to all of us. Don't be afraid to think about solutions using that. And if you're afraid to think about like, I don't want to use location data, it's too difficult, I want to use name or traffic data, like think about your problem and what you could in theory do if you would have that data. And I'm quite sure that there is a way that we can find a legal framework for you to like solve your problem if that data creates so much value for the end users. And with that, I want to conclude my talk. Thank you for your attention, and I'm taking questions. Oh, no questions. It's fine. Everybody wants to go for tea time. Or I've been very clear. That's also right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.